of each of the Eldrazi's, Emrakul, Kozilek, and Ulamog. He has Show and Tell achievement in the play. He also has 4 copies of Primeval Titan, which allows him to get either sufficient mana through his Cloud Post effects, or to tutor for Eye of Ugin, which allows him to then tutor for the necessary Eldrazi to take the game down. He also has 3 copies of Pithing Needle Main, which I assume is a concession to Wasteland, which is a disaster for this deck. He also has, Crop Rotation, Sensei's Dividing Top, and Candelabra of Talanos for mana generation and some search. So,
as we see both players are underway here, Corey did take a mulligan to 6, and we see a little bit of ponder action here from Corey. And one of the interesting things here, Patrick, is kind of the show and tell battle.
Right.
Of each player casting it and what's going to happen. We can see some hilarity ensue with that. If Corey decides to never cast show and tell and just go the sneak attack route, that'll be a little bit safer. But again, he doesn't really have a lot of permission to stop Tony from really doing his thing.
Yeah, and Tony's thing is actually a lot different than a lot of these other decks. So you can counter show and tell, right? That's a thing you can do and stop Emrakul from coming in play. I've seen Tony actually just cast Emrakul.
Yeah,
doesn't really matter if
not very hard.
And once you're actually casting Emrakul with Eye of Ugin in play, you actually can't counter out of it because he just loops it back in, tutors for it again, and recasts. So
what we see here is we see a Vesuva copying Cloud Post, and the Cloud Post acting for 2 mana because Tony does control 2 locusts or loci. Not sure the quite
locusts.
Is it locusts?
Locusts. And
activating the Sensei's Divining Top. So already with 4 mana, and this deck does have incredibly explosive mana. This was a deck, this engine, that we saw prominently at Pro Tour Philadelphia a couple of years back in the original modern Pro Tour.
Yep.
And it can get explosive very, very quickly.
Yeah, he doesn't present that much disruption game 1, which is an unfortunate feature of this. And his deck's not particularly fast, so it takes him a little while to get all of his engine going here. But you see him resolving an expedition map, which is going to allow him to, again, find another piece.
And we're going to bring up a lot of these cards on the screen for you guys so you can't keep track of them, because a lot of these cards are cards you don't really see in Legacy. This deck has had a small amount of success on the circuit. I know there is a player whose name is escaping me right now who does play this deck in Indianapolis that has had some success as well, as we do see another Cloud Post being brought out here.
Corey looking at that spell pierce and probably thinking, I'm gonna have a tough time resolving this on anything.
Yeah, not so much. Had the opportunity to spell pierce that Sensei's Divining Top and decided against it, and I think he might be beating himself up for that one.
Yeah.
So we do see Cloud Post go to Tony's hand. You're gonna see a top activation with that leftover mana. We're going to see what we can do. We're just going to leave those there. We're going to play that Cloud Post, and now Tony's moved up to 9 mana very easily. And you can definitely see why Pithing Needle needs to be started in this deck, because Wasteland blows this up real easy.
Additionally, you can see Tony also has his 1 main deck Caracas in hand, which also has the potential to just blow Corey out of the water here. And I feel like Corey actually, he can't really show and tell here because God knows what Tony has in his hand, right?
Yeah.
And he has to kind of go on the sneak attack route, not only because show and tell is super dangerous, but also he doesn't know about the Caracas, and the Caracas is also going to blow him out of the water if he goes with the show and tell plan.
And that's one of the nice things about playing 4 copies of Crop Rotation, and Crop Rotation clearly has a huge home in this deck, being able to Crop Rotate for Bajuka Bog, Glacial Chasm, Eye of Ugin, as you mentioned, even Glimmer Post. But also just being able to play that 1 of Caracas to get yourself out of some trouble.
Yep.
And so we do see Corey just pass back, and what's funny here is that Corey does have 2 copies of Show Tell and Gristlebrand in his hand, and the requisite 3 mana to cast it. He's just a little bit scared.
Yeah. There's the Eye.
We do see Eye of Ugin. And as Corey's going to read that, we are going to bring that up for you guys as well.
You aren't show and telling anymore, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't get any ideas about that.
So you see colorless Eldrazi spells you cast do cost 2 less, and that's going to be a little bit cheaper. As we do see Kozilek, the Butcher of Truth. Draw Tony 4 more cards. Tony's going to wonder if that's going to resolve, because it is still counterable. He still can Force of Will it, but excuse me, Tony will always get those 4 cards, because it's when you cast Kozilek, not when it resolves. And now we do see a top activation here with the leftover mana.
Which is why I plus Emrakul is basically like unbeatable with permission.
Yeah.
Because he gets to take another turn, to reverse Emrakul again and run it back.
Yep.
I like watching this deck in action, I gotta say.
Hey, it's pretty nice. I mean, when this deck draws a Cloud Post, things do just get out of control quickly.
Yep.
And when you do have, again, 4 copies of Crop Rotation, you're actually able to find things pretty easily. Also Expedition Map.
Yeah, it's got a fair amount of redundancy, actually. The scores a Primeval Titan.
Not gonna need that.
Yeah.
As you see Corey.
Those show and tells are too funny. The show and tells and the spell pierces are both just too funny to me right now.
Yeah, they really are good. So we do see Misty Rainforest being sacrificed here on Tony's end step. I would say that this is probably a bad matchup for Sneak and Show.
I mean, this doesn't seem good so far.
The fact that you are unable to actually cast your namesake card in Show and Tell, and you actually have to win via sneak attack.
I mean, Tony basically, the one thing is Tony doesn't really have a very good answer to it, just a fast sneak attack. His deck's not really equipped for that. But certainly the show and tell plan is like, you gotta be kidding me. You can't.
Yeah,
you can't outmuscle.
You can't pull the trigger.
He has Expedition Map for Caracas. All right, well, he has a show and he just do Grizzlebrand.
He has 2 Gristlebrands and 2 Show and Tells in his hand, and you know he has like a. He does have Misdirection in his hand, which is not the correct counterspell. Excuse me. But
he shakes his head.
Yeah. All right, let's do this.
All right, this is gonna be sweet. And there's a Primeval Titan in his hand.
All right, let's do it. Primeval Titan. Primeval Titan and Grizzlebrand. Let's go.
All right, so
trigger this. Draw a card with Sensei's top. He must know something we don't know. Tony does draw a card.
Also, Tony's deck has 4 mana copies of Repeal, so he might just bounce the Crystal.
Jeez. That's crazy to even think about.
Yep.
So we're going to see Tony get a Cloud. But I was thinking about it.
Yeah. So does Corey simply have to draw this turn to find like more permanents to be able to survive Annihilator for a trigger?
I suppose that's the case. It doesn't seem incredibly easy though. Because we do see Cloud Post here, especially with facing on that Eye of Ugin. You see Glimmer Post.
Also bear in mind that Caracas is in Tony's hand also. This is a side note.
Yeah, a mini game. So you see Glimmer Post is going to gain 5 life for Tony here, as he does control 5 Locust lands. And that was the card that really put the Cloud Push strategy in Modern for the initial Modern Pro Tour over the top.
Yep.
By having 8 Locust effects in the deck, things really got out of control quickly. And now we do see Tony untap and draw his card. A lot of mana here. You are going to see these guys come across, and that's going to do it.
No more of this.
So Tony Murata up a game with his 12 post deck. Corey Pigott going to the sideboard,
yep,
which I do have in front of me, and there is a card that will be of use here, Blood Moon.
Blood Moon is quite good against Tony's deck,
yeah,
to say the very least.
4 copies of Blood Moon in Corey's sideboard, and I think he's going to bring those in. You're also going to see 3 copies of Echoing Truth, which may join us. 2 copies of Pyroclasm, 2 copies of Pyroblast. Going to stay on the bench, along with the Red Elemental Blast. I don't really see Arcane Laboratory, Pithing Needle, or Flusterstorm coming in either, but I think those Blood Moons are Windmill Slam, and then you just kind of move on from there.
Right, and on Tony's side of the table, he has 2 copies of Curse Totem, which is good against against Grizzlebrand rather, not against Emrakul. He has 2 copies of Elephant Grass, which I am not positive is good here, although potentially good. Again, it stops Grizzlebrand from attacking for forever, and might be good against Emrakul if it gets shown to play and it has only 3 mana left over. But it doesn't seem like an ace. And 2 copies of Venser Shaper Savant, which I also believe will come in here.
Okay. So definitely some cards to be brought in on both sides of things, but I think the things do lean heavily here towards Tony and his deck, especially with the opponent not having any Wastelands. If he is somehow able to dodge Wasteland for most of the day, then this deck is a fantastic choice. But with so much Rug Delver in the room, that's going to be probably pretty difficult for him to do. But he is obviously off to a nice start so far today.
Yeah, and I spoke in error before. I said, Tony, you know, not a lot of good answer. He doesn't really have a good answer to a fast sneak attack. He has 3 main deck copies of Python Needle, so he actually does have...
Oh, sure.
Yeah, he actually does have some game against that, too.
So he's actually got a lot of bases covered here, incidentally.
Yes. Right. But I'm willing to bet that Python Needle is overwhelmingly for Wasteland, which seems very challenging for Tony to beat.
We've seen some double Wasteland draws so far today, and I can't imagine this deck being able to fight through those. You know, crop rotation is an interesting way to go about doing that, kind of mitigate the damage, but...
Well, it's pretty rough because ideally... Tony wants to be spending his first couple of turns comes to play tap colorless lands.
Sure.
So it's hard for him to use crop rotation as protection because he doesn't want to go turn 1 green land, then turn 2 Cloud Post, then along the way he wants to be going Cloud Post with Suva, Glimmer Post, and so on. And so, you know, even if he has a crop rotation, it's a pretty significant opportunity cost for him to play green mana first to enable crop rotation. I think he would and crop rotations are pretty sweet in this deck. Also in this matchup, he gets a crop rotate for Caracas, which is something that Corey might even know is an angle that deck has, you know?
Yeah.
Very hard to out beef the 12 post deck.
You know, it's kind of strange too, because if you've never seen this 12 post deck before, if you're an opponent of this deck, you don't really know what's going on. You think you have like kind of an idea of what's going on. You know, at some point he's going to cast some gigantic monster, you know, is what you're thinking. But you know, outside of the obvious stuff that's taking place when you see Vesuva and you see Cloud Post and you're thinking of Eldrazi, you don't really know the inner workings of this deck. You don't know that there is, you know, Candelabra of Tawnos. You don't know that there's Pithing Needles in the main deck. Stuff like that. 4 copies of Repeal. I wouldn't have guessed that those cards are in this deck either.
Right.
So you don't really know what to expect from your opponent outside of the obvious cards.
Right, and I think another issue with this deck is it's very easy to underestimate the amount of mana this deck generates early.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, so his things make 2 on turn 2, okay, fine. And then the third one comes out and it's like, oh, now all 3 of them make 3, so he's on 9 mana on turn 3 now? Like, it is, if you've never played against the deck before, it is surprising how fast a ton of mana can be generated.
Yep. We do see both players shuffling here, getting ready to present. If you guys are just joining us, Patrick Sullivan and I here in San Diego. SCG Live Open Series takes us to America's finest city. You can join the conversation with us on Twitter at SCG Live or at the hashtag of SCGSD. In case Patrick and I do miss something, or you guys who just want to provide feedback and join in the conversation, feel free and join us on Twitter. But we do appreciate you guys watching at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So Corey got to start, and if I'm Corey, I'm like, I'm not even sure really how to muster an angle of attack here. Like, it has to be sneak attack,
I was actually just going to ask you that question. You know, what can Corey do here? Because I don't think he can, you know, he can maybe get lucky with show and tell. Maybe.
Yeah, it's asking a lot. I guess it can happen, but yes.
Because even if he does show and tell a Gristlebrand or Emrakul, if Tony just has Primeval Titan, it breaks that up, because that just searches for Caracas.
Right.
So it's really, really difficult to think that Show and Tell would ever be a game winner here. Maybe he's just supposed to swap out the Show and Tells just for Blood Moons and just try to go about beating him that way. I think Blood Moon is just going to be the most integral card here in our sideboarding games.
Yeah, Tony doesn't have a lot of ways to get out of it. He can basically, if he's conscious of Blood Moon, he can fetch for a basic island, which he has 1 copy of, and then repeal and go off.
Sure.
The next turn.
So we do see a Cloud Post here from Tony, Volcanic Island from Corey, and I think, you know, for him, and I think we do see a Blood Moon in his hand right now. Yeah, I think every single thing that he does here is just going to revolve around Blood Moon.
Wow, he had 2 mana land in Blood Moon and decided against.
Well, I think the reason he did that is just simply because he wants to make sure that he has a basic island.
Sure, okay.
Just to do some brainstorming, some pondering, because again, while Tony's deck does generate mana very, very quickly, he doesn't need, it's not a race.
Right.
We're going to see Show and Tell put back. We're going to see Gristlebrand. Looks like that's going to go put back. Maybe not.
Puts back a Ponder and a Tarn.
All right, and Tony's going to take a draw here. He does draw Expedition Map.
So we'll see if he's able to handle this Blood Moon that's coming.
Let's see if he has some experience playing in Sneak and Shows. You do see a Locust, a Glimmer Post here come into play. It's going to gain him 2 life, push him up to 22. If he does play an Expedition map and switch out a basic, or you know what his plan is going to be, and you're going to see Sensei's Divining top here. We'll play Chalice of the Void on 1. And what that's going to do is just cut out all of those cantripping effects, the Ponders, the Preordains, and the Brainstorms.
Although this is actually, the sequencing here is a little bit rough for Tony because he has map in hand, which is now locked out because of the Chalice. And he's going to need that map.
Pretty poor, I mean, pretty badly.
Yeah, to be able to go get his island and repeal out.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised by the presence of Chalice in the post-board games. It's not like this deck has a ton of 1s in it. And, you know, I could see it if you had, you know, the Ancient Tomb City of Traders type of lands where you could just cast on turn 1 on the play. But the earliest Tony can cast it is on turn 2, and that's with a as be one of his better draws. And at that point, Corey still had, like, his opportunity to ponder a Brainstorm once.
Yeah. So we do see Corey sack both of his fetch lands to search out 2 basic islands. I think we are going to see that Blood Moon here. He does have Show and Tell in his hand, but I would be very surprised if we saw that get cast this turn.
Yeah, he's still, it seems very likely he still needs to wait on.
You see a Lotus Petal, and now you just see a Blood Moon as well. You see Tony. Probably not terribly thrilled to see that come in here.
I would imagine not.
As I don't really know what he's going to do to cobble together some sort of plan to beat that card. On his upkeep, he is going to activate Sensei's Divining Top, however.
Also means that the crack is shut off too, which is another big beating here.
If you signed up for the 3 p.m. draft challenge, your event's ready.
As Tony has Caracas in hand.
Please come up to the stage to meet your judge.
You'll see a Glimmer Post there.
If you signed up for the 3 p.m. draft challenge, please come up to the stage to meet your judge.
He is just going to pass back now. Spell Pierce the draw for Corey this turn, to go along with a couple Show and Tells, the Gristlebrand, and a City of Traders.
Yep.
And he is just going to pass the turn back. I think at this point, all that matters is just to find a sneak attack.
Yeah, no, he has to. The problem is that he can't really cantrip for it anymore. He just sort of has to wait.
Yeah.
And Tony just found his basic island, it looks like. I guess Chalice is kind of sweet in this deck no matter what, right? Like, just get to 8 mana and Chalice for 4 against some decks? Or...
Yeah, I mean, it can't be too tough, right?
I always have this thing in my head of, you know, like, you want Chalice for the 0s and 1s. It's like, nah.
The 5s and 6s.
Yeah, he has Jason's deck, so I just Chalice for 4. Whatever.
Shut off the card I definitely can't beat. We do see City of Traders come into play. It is a mountain, of course, because of the Blood Moon.
Are we making a move here?
Are we about to see a Show and Tell? No, I think he is just going to pass back. Island the draw step here for Tony. Spin the top.
There's that basic island.
He is just going to pass back to Corey. Corey takes a draw. Looks to be a Scalding Tarn.
Remember, Tony also, now with that Chalice, also cannot cast Python Needle. So Sneak Attack is a huge draw.
So Tropical Island drawn. Spin the top here. Also can't ever draw a card with that since he's Divining Top. Not that he's really needs to. But if, you know, that's got to stay in play and help manipulate his library the entire time because he can never recast it. So you're just going to see Caracas. That's going to be a mountain here. So blue and all red mana there for Tony. You see Emrakul drawn here for Corey.
And I think where he's going to go for it.
And now you are going to see a show and tell.
This is some seriously risky business.
I agree with you, my friend. If Tony does have one of those Eldrazi, this can backfire badly. Let's see what he has. He has Ulamog, so he does have one. Now, he won't get the trigger from Ulamog, as we will bring that up on the screen for you guys, because he didn't cast it. But he will get to Annihilate.
Not the biggest of big boys, but still a pretty big one.
And what's interesting here about Ulamog, its indestructibility is actually important here, because he can attack and Emrakul can block and it won't die.
Yep.
So that actually matters right now.
Oh, are we showing and telling again?
Yeah, we're gonna show and tell again.
One Emrakul, not enough.
Maybe bring Emrakul and Gristlebrand to the party.
This is risky because we might just get Annihilated out here if he has a Kozilek. Uh-oh.
Activate top. Oh boy.
I think we're looking for another monster.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
So he's gonna draw a card and then activate this. It looks like, or some sort of interesting sequencing.
Yeah.
So you see him move around those cards. You see the draw resolve.
Okay.
And now you see the other top activation. And that's probably just to get top down to the bottom.
As far away as possible.
Yeah, because he can't really fetch land away it. And now you're going to see Flusterstorm.
Okay, never mind.
And that's going to get countered. Now the Storm copies are not going to get countered.
Oh,
and that's
wow.
That's the important thing here, because those are copies that go onto the stack.
Oh, holy crap.
So that's a really smart play there, because Chalice of the Void copies original cards, but it does not copy counters of the card.
Yeah, my bad.
Copies of the card.
I was unaware of that subtlety.
And so now what we see here, and this is very, very important here, is we do see Ulamog in play, and that will be attacking next turn. For Corey, if he sacrifices that Blood Moon, it turns back on that Caracas.
Yeah, he can't let that one go. And I think basically Tony needs to have enough permanents left over after he takes the Annihilator hit, where he's left with Caracas plus Ulamog, because then he can, the second Annihilator hit will take out the Blood Moon, and then the Caracas is turned back on.
Correct. So what it looks like right now, if that's the case, he can sacrifice some things, but let's take care of this sacrifice first. So we see a 1, 2, a 3. And he's going to have to find that fourth one, as we have Ulamog, the Infinite Gyri, on the screen for you guys. Going to work.
Yeah, I mean, he can't.
I can't imagine sacrificing Emrakul here.
No, I think he was moving to block.
Henry Gomez, if you're in the room, please report to the stage for your draft challenge. Henry Gomez, if you're in the room, please report to the stage for your
And
draft
Tony's displaying quite a bit of proficiency with, like, his operations, like that top turn.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So we had to go. The plan is now to go for Gristlebrand next turn.
I suppose that's the strategy here.
That's about the best Annihilator 4 I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah. As we do see Emrakul get shuffled away here, and I can't really come up with much of an explanation for why he would sack those permanents, sacrificing Emrakul, sacrificing Blood Moon, and turning back on all of Tony's lands. It doesn't really make a ton of sense to me.
Well, and now it's like, how do you win through that Caracas?
Yeah. We're going to see Scalding Tarn come into play. And now Corey is just going to draw a card. He draws a Ponder, which isn't going to resolve. You see Show and Tell here. And Show and Tell is fine. But again, how is he going to win through Caracas? I have no idea, as we see Expedition Map.
I mean, we got to draw now, right? We can't let him just pass and...
I mean, he can draw now if he wants to, but I mean, he's at 8 life. That would bring him down to 1. And again, Caracas can just bounce the Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I mean, he has 4 permanents, and Ulamog knocks out 4 permanents with that Annihilator. So he's really put himself in a rock and a hard place here. And really, the unfortunate thing here for Corey is he put himself in this situation himself. He had no reason to ever cast Show and Tell.
Well, the reason to cast Show and Tell is the feeling that he's just going to break out of this somehow, and I need to go for it. And that Emrakul might be better than whatever Tony puts into play.
Sure.
But, yeah, I mean, the line was a little inconsistent there. Like, if you're going to go for that path, like, you have to Show and Tell right away, because you have to give Tony as few draws as possible to find something also awesome. It felt like Corey was on this plan of, I'm going to Blood Moon him, and then I'm going to sneak attack him. And he didn't find sneak attack or a way to find it for a couple turns, and then he started to get like nervous, and he was like, all right, I just need to go for it because time's not on my side here.
Yeah.
Which might have been true. Maybe he needed to go for it, but if that was going to be the path that he wanted to take, I think he should have gone for it earlier.
Yeah, I agree. If you are going to be on the Show and Tell path there, then you just put pedal to the floor and you just cast Show and Tell on turn 2 or turn 3.
Right.